Hi, everyone. Big Thinny Dog Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Spectral Wound project, A Diabolic Thirst. Spectral Wound, Montreal metal outfit. This is their third full-length LP over here, their first big outing for Profound Lore Records. I was mildly impressed by the sound of their last album. I saw even more heads being turned by the release of this new one, so I decided to take a dive. And after having done so, I can certainly understand why this is gaining the traction that it has. As far as black metal is concerned, A Diabolic Thirst is one of the most monstrous releases I've heard this year. The sound on this thing is impressive, it's dense, it's distorted, and packed with just enough atmosphere to make it feel like it's towering over you. Not only that, but every song here is performed with an incredible amount of guts. These blast beats and fills are the spiked demonic backbone to this hellish record. They punch through with strong grooves no matter how many deafening layers of vocals or guitar are thrown on top. And not just to give it to the drums, because every element of the band's sound on this project is pushing it to the extreme, to the point where sometimes their ideas can get a little lost in translation. Take the closer, for example. The last third of this cut is so overpowering and so chaotic, so messy. The guitars and vocals just gruesomely bleeding into each other like two respective wildfires meeting at a midpoint to create some kind of giant super fire. Which I suppose is fitting considering the opener on this LP kicks off with what sounds like a crackling fire, just before some completely unforgiving riffs on the opener hit. The ferocity this band approaches every track here with is really something to behold. Rarely does this record let up or give the listener any room to breathe in its 40-minute runtime. Safe to say A Diabolic Thirst is pretty no bullshit. I mean, occasionally you may get another guitar layer thrown into there just for another touch of melody, and there is that somewhat overwhelming atmosphere I talked about earlier, but look, there are much more atmospheric and melodic black metal records out there. I guess what I'm trying to say is when it comes to this genre's most classic and tried and true sonic and compositional forms, this band plays it pretty straight. There is not much room for anything in terms of experimentation or adventure on this LP. I mean, even the cover looks like something straight out of Norway in the 90s. So to put this LP in a nutshell, much of it does run like a classic black metal record, but it's presented with a recording that is much punchier, heavier, more high def, performances that are ultra tight and aggressive. Now, the simple approach does have its pros and cons. The good is that we have a savage, merciless black metal record here that does a pretty good job of celebrating and embodying the sounds and ideas that made those records from way back in the day as compelling as they are. But the downside to this is that the band takes a painfully basic compositional approach to a lot of these tracks, which is disappointing for a few reasons, not only because as the listener I just find it a little tedious, but also the really good performances across this LP signal the band is capable of so much more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love how intense and explosive the sound and performances of this LP are, but what is absolutely not edge of your seat are the same chord progressions and tremolo melodies that I've heard on dozens of other black metal records in the past. And look, this is not a plea for the band to drift away from the black metal sound. By all means, stick to it. You're obviously very good at it, but that doesn't change that the chords and melodies written throughout this project are just really uninspired, souring the mood of tracks like Frigid and Spellbound. Because even if the sound of this track is killer, I'm just let down by how unimaginative the riffs are. Outside of a few moments, there's just very little in the way of compositional ambition to be found here. Now, look, ultimately, that does not make this a bad record, a terrible record. I still see the merit in it, and I still see why it's getting the attention that it is. Plus, you know, I generally like it myself. But the plain chords and melodies laced throughout this project can only take it so far, even if I find other aspects of it impressive. And with there being only 6 songs stretching across this record's 40-minute runtime, it's pretty easy to get a quick sense of just how basic some of the riffing here is. All that being said though, I think the record starts off with a lot of fire in its belly, and it does have a strong, chaotic, powerful finisher, but everything else in the middle of these 2 spots is just fine. Feeling a decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that Upworthy link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Spectral Wound, forever.